It's Western Michigan week, game number 2 for Ohio State. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Ohio State Football Report. I'm Matt Goldman. I've been with you since Ohio State started this season, and I'll continue on as the Buckeyes are looking to go to 2-0. And what do they always say, and what Urban Meyer started at Ohio State? What's the best thing about going 1-0? A chance to go 2-0. So if you want Ohio State to beat Western Michigan and you want to support the Bucks, hit that like button down in the comment section area on YouTube. It will support the Buckeyes, support me and this channel. So let's get into it as we have our matchup for game 2. It's a night game at the Horseshoe. Buckeyes and the Broncos going at it. And you see Ohio State is a heavy favorite in this game, just like they were against Akron. I'm no better, but Ohio State did not cover the spread in that Akron game. So maybe I would stay away from that. But don't take my betting advice. I don't do it. So Ohio State's going to have a big matchup at night in front of the Horseshoe. It's going to be a sold-out crowd. Western Michigan, they got to take on Wisconsin, a Big Ten foe last week, and they had a scare against Wisco. Wisco really, at home, had a chance to lose, especially early in the fourth quarter. Wisconsin was down 14-13 to the Broncos early, around 14 minutes to go in the game. But that changed after Wisconsin scored 2 straight touchdowns, got a 2-point conversion out of it, and they won the game 28-14. Not a good look for Wisco as a Big Ten team to be down to a MAC team in that way, especially in game number 1. But week 1 is kind of freaky in terms of what we've seen from a lot of different teams. And Ohio State was down 3-0 to start things off against Akron, but they prevailed 52-6. So I don't love the fact that Wisco didn't do too well. But let's show some of the stats of what Western Michigan's top players did against the Badgers. And here's their starting quarterback, Hayden Wolf, who the Buckeyes will have to stop this weekend at 7:30 p.m. He had a pretty solid showing, nothing crazy in terms of the stats, 12 of 18, 141 yards. They had their touchdowns on the ground. And when we look at Western Michigan's top wide receiver, just 2 receptions and 45 yards. So Ohio State's cornerbacks are going to face a Western Michigan offense that wasn't so productive against a Big Ten team in Wisconsin. And looking at the overall team stats against Wisconsin, this is what the Broncos did overall. They turned the ball over twice. They went for on 4th down 4 different times and converted half of those, so 50% conversion rate, not too bad for Western Michigan, and being courageous against a Wisconsin team that they so badly want to beat on the road. The rushing game was pretty solid overall with 120 yards. Again, I showed the passing game earlier from Hayden Wolf with 141, so pretty well-balanced offense when you look at what Western Michigan did, but nothing really stuck out besides the fact that they turned the ball over twice, and I'm going to talk more about why that's so significant coming up in the show. Now tell me this, because I have a prediction in mind, thinking that Ohio State's going to kind of blow them out of the waters on national TV, but predict the score in the comments for me of what Ohio State and Western Michigan's going to do. Will Ohio State win by a lot? Will it be close? Will Western Michigan pull off the miraculous upset against the second best team in America? We shall see. I think Ohio State will pummel Western Michigan. I think it's going to be even worse than what they did to Akron, kind of Ole Miss style, what they did to Furman this past weekend. And I think for Ohio State, it's just going to come down to a few things in terms of their keys to victory, and I'm going to talk about those on the show. And let's start with the first one. It's getting turnovers. I just talked about that with Western Michigan and how they turned the ball over twice. Ohio State had a really good Saturday where they were able to get 3 turnovers against Akron. They were really successful, and that's caused them to be tied 3rd in the entire NCAA for their turnover margin just through week 1. So again, small sample size, take it with a grain of salt. But this Western Michigan team turned the ball over twice, and Kirk Herbstreit said yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, what stands out to you about Ohio State's offense is what Pat asked Kirk. And Kirk said, well, it's not the offense, because I know that's the obvious answer. It's the defense. This defense can win them a championship. This defense can convert on getting turnovers and get the ball back for the Buckeyes. That's huge for Ohio State. And I think that brings to my second point of getting Will Howard to light it up against Western Michigan. His statistics were okay against Akron, but if you can get Will Howard to really bring his confidence up and get Buckeye fans really happy about the way he will play for the future of this team, you see right here what he did against Akron. I touched on yesterday's show. It was a pretty solid showing. He had 3 touchdown passes. 2 of them went to freshman phenom Jeremiah Smith. But if Will Howard's able to come in and have a pretty good performance where it's better than this Akron one, I think that will be very telling to what Chip Kelly's able to do as an offensive play caller and have trust in his quarterback. Because if he's able to bring that confidence and air it out more, I think that's going to be big for the Buckeyes. And this is what Chip Kelly had to say about Will Howard, his quarterback. He's got a lot of experience, and I think that's kind of showing through for him. He still needs to get experience in what we're doing, and that's part of the process. Air it out. Let's have him air it out. He's got experience, as you just said. He played in Power 5 football games all throughout his college career at Kansas State. So why not just air it out and pad those stats as much as possible? Experiment a little bit. Ohio State, yes, on paper, it's 0-0 when they start the game. But if we're really being honest, Ohio State's going to win this game. So why not try some things? Why not try and air the ball out and see what he's able to do with these wide receivers in terms of what Will Howard can do? If you're not subbed to the channel, I would really appreciate. We've been growing like crazy ever since content started booming just 2 weeks ago. We've gotten over 400 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. Can we get to 1,000 by the time this game starts? I know that's a big ask, but all you got to do is hit that button and support the Buckeyes and support this channel because I would really appreciate it. So the third thing that I want to talk about in terms of the keys to victory for Ohio State, it's establish the run game. A lot of people always say that when you're watching football. Let's establish the run. Let's really show this defense that we're able to run the ball down their throats, north to south, south to north, however you want to look at it. Ohio State's running game was okay against Akron. I expect it to be better just because of the hype that we have in terms of our running backs with Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. But 170 yards overall, I'm okay with. And Will Howard's able to run the ball as well. Here's the rushing attack for Ohio State. I broke down the stats, compared what these two were able to do, and I thought it was interesting. Judkins, he had more carries, but wasn't as efficient with the ball. He did get a touchdown, however. What I really liked about Travion Henderson is that when he got the ball, he was very efficient with it. 8 yards per carry. That's really impressive stuff. He didn't get a touchdown, but that's only because James People, later on in the game, got the goal line touchdown. If it was a meaningful game and really at the end was getting close, Travion would have been in there to run the 3-yard touchdown in. So this is where you have to take advantage if you're Ohio State. They allowed 196 rushing yards to Wisconsin this past weekend. So it's a good comparison in terms of what a Big Ten team's able to do and see that they were able to dominate against Western Michigan. If Ohio State can do that, then that's going to be great success for the Buckeyes this coming Saturday because establishing the run is always big for any team. But when you have Travion Henderson, who was an All-American a few years ago, and Quinshon Judkins, who was SEC all-freshman offensive team, you have to have success with those two guys in the hype that Ohio State has because the depth is not there for Ohio State. So if you have your two starters, your key starters that are 1A, 1B on the depth chart, then why not? And again, run the ball all day because I think that is critical for Ohio State. The fourth key for victory that Ohio State needs to have on Saturday, Sac City, baby. I mean, they were dominating all day against Akron. Why not do it again? This Ohio State defensive line, as Kirk Herbstreit also talked about, is one of the best in America. And if I'm looking at Ohio State's D-line, I'd like to agree with that point. I think they are the best in America. I know there's some perennial players on other teams in terms of James Pierce, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. But Ohio State's D-line, 6 different players got at least half of a sack on Saturday. I think that's pretty impressive to think about when you have a lot of different experience coming at you on the right or left side or in between the gaps. You have to have a lot of big guys, and Ohio State does. And Western Michigan has a pretty good offensive line when you look at them. But Ohio State's D-line is really good. This is what their grades turned out to be against Wisconsin. They allowed only 1 sack, no hits allowed, which I thought was really impressive for what Western Michigan was able to do. But we know Wisconsin, not the strongest defense this year. The run block grade and pass block grade were in the lower portions of the FBS, looking back at the rankings this past week, especially the pass blocking grade. I love that. I think that's awesome if you're an Ohio State fan and you're looking at those statistics because of the fact that you have Jack Sawyer, JTT, Tyleik Williams, Arvell Reese, all these names, all these guys I can talk about that are able to get in there and are some of the best in the country at what they do. Must get major sack numbers this week. Let's be the top team in the country in terms of sack numbers as of next week. If Ohio State can do that, I think Jim Knowles is going to be looked at as the best defensive coordinator in America. And then JTT, Tyleik, and Jack Sawyer will all be looked at as first-round picks. If we're looking at the numbers from last year, JTT's numbers, not amazing. Jack Sawyer's numbers, however, really climbed up at the end. Tyleik Williams was rated as the highest defensive tackle in America in college football. And this guy is now a senior. You have to think the development and experience with these guys, it's only going to get better this year. So let's support the Buckeyes. If you want to support Jack Sawyer, JTT, Tyleek Williams, and all the guys on the defense, all the silver bullets, give this video a like. Hit that thumbs up icon because the Buckeyes need all the support in the world. It's Ohio against the world, baby. We got to be together. And the last key to victory for Ohio State, it's better O-line play. I talked about that as one of the things I wanted to watch in terms of specifically Josh Fryer in last week's video in the Akron preview. Ohio State's offensive line was not great, and Josh Fryer was most definitely not great. I went through all the PFF offensive tackle rankings. He was really down low, and it was 599 out of, I believe it was 927. That's not great. That's really not, especially with what Josh Fryer in terms of the experience he's had. You would think that's not up to the standard of Ohio State. It really isn't, and these are the grades right here. On 62 snaps, he graded out 70.1. When you look at that, you think, oh, 70.1, not the worst. But when you look at all the other offensive linemen, the FBS, that got snap counts over, I believe, 25 is the minimum, he ranked really low in 599. His pass block grade was better out of the two grades between pass and run, but the run block grade, and why Ohio State didn't have much success with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins at certain times, especially running on the right side, going outside to do a halfback stretch, Josh Fryer was the guy. He has to be that anchor that Ohio State needs. And the D-line for Western Michigan really has struggled for them this year. They're 114th out of 133 in the FBS in terms of their rush grade, according to PFF. Take advantage, Ohio State. You're going against a weak defensive line. Why not go in there and be confident and go block them really well and help out your quarterback and running backs? If you're able to have a sturdy offensive line and Justin Fry, our offensive line coach, can just hammer down this O-line and have consistency week in, week out, this Ohio State team's going to have a lot more success. And you won't have to worry about Will Howard's play at all, because if the O-line's blocking and giving him time to throw the ball or check down and do his progressions and reads, then Ohio State's going to have a lot of success in terms of their offensive production, which they already do. They're in the top 50 in every offensive statistic in America when it comes to throwing the ball or running the ball. But in terms of blocking, they don't. So again, one more time, hit that like button. The Buckeyes must beat Western Michigan. And it's a big week for Michigan as well against Texas. So if you want Ohio State to win, but you also want Texas to win, so Michigan goes down, hit that like button. I really appreciate it. Last but not least, you want to get more Ohio State content, you can DM me. Got any questions about the Buckeyes? Hit my Twitter. Hit my line, @MattGoldman28. I accept all follows. I'll follow you back, Buckeye Nation. And I'm here to have some fun, talk Buckeyes all the time. We'll see you next time. Go Bucks.